excited about this morning's program because it gives us an opportunity to celebrate and to learn about something that, quite frankly, we think is really important. York School believes very strongly that one of the greatest skills and experiences that we could help provide for you is a fluency in other cultures. Language fluency, yes, but cultural understanding and immersion and the opportunity to learn how other people in the world live. We have a lot of our classwork which supports that, and we have a great long tradition of trips to try and accomplish the same thing. As you know, we have several students among us who are from China. They are having that experience of living in another culture, learning language, and absorbing what they can learn from the contrast in those cultures every day at York School. So beginning this past year, we had the opportunity to be partners with an organization called CIEE. It's a global leader in providing study abroad and exchange programs for high school students, for college students, and for educators. And 10 of our students participated in one of these programs thanks to some very generous Global Navigator scholarships, and we'll be talking more about those in the upcoming days and weeks. But for now, I want to create an opportunity for you to hear from your fellow students. They went to 6 different countries. I don't have to name those, they can name them, but they participated in the 3 different kinds of programs that CIEE offers: the language and cultural immersion, the content studies, in this case environmental studies, but there are lots of different options, and also service learning type programs. So, happy to have all 10 students who participated, 6 of whom I think we're going to present to you, and then there's going to be an opportunity for you to ask questions. So, welcome, enjoy, pay attention. You're going to learn something, but more importantly, I think you're going to be very excited to share, at least in their stories, and to start thinking about your own story.
My name is Marcos de Infante. I went to Madrid, Spain to learn about language and culture. My host family consisted of a host father, who was a fireman, a host mother, and 2 of their younger children, a boy and a girl, 14 and 12 years old. But before I got to Spain, my family kept joking about like Spanish stereotypes that we've all pretty much heard. They kept telling me that I was going to come back with a lisp when I speak, or that they'd warn me to watch out for bulls running on the street. Of course, these are a little exaggerated, and these did not happen, but I did have stereotypes stuck in my mind as I got onto the plane. So when I got there, I was really shocked when my host family was telling me that actually people, they don't leave their families' homes until they're in their late 20s or in their early 30s. That's very different from here, where we leave to college and we go across the country and when we're in our early 20s. And I thought that was very shocking, and my family was shocked when they found out that I have a sister living in Southern California and another one in Northern California, both far away from home. And also I found out was that in Madrid there's the central Madrid and then there's the suburban area of Madrid. But the suburbs aren't what we really think of as the suburbs here. The suburbs for them are pretty much 5 to 7 story apartment buildings all clumped together in a little neighborhood. So it's very different from here, where we have a lot more land and backyard. And so it was funny when my host brother and sister asked me if I really had a front yard, grass and plants, or if I had a garage that connects to my house. Something very common around here, but over there they're used to apartments and really small rooms. And so I really realized that these cultures all around the world are very different and very unique. And I know that if I lived in any other country, it would be, my life would be totally different. And thanks for listening, and I'll pass it on to Washington.
Hello, my name name is Washti Tibbetts, and last summer I went to Toulouse, France, and southern France. It was on the same program that Marcus went on. It's a language and cultural immersion program, so in the morning you take French class, in the afternoon we'll have a cultural excursion to a museum or something. So the most challenging aspect for me during the program was how awkward the first few days were, especially with my host family, because I couldn't speak French at all, so that was difficult. Even though I took French beforehand, French in France is like a foreign language. It's hard to understand. So it was especially, I especially dreaded the having dinner with my French family the first few days, even though my French family is they had foreign exchange students before I did. They've been doing this for a long time, but well, a French dinner is much more social than an American dinner, so you're expected to talk. You can't just watch TV. It's like a talking event for 3 hours. So at first I felt really frustrated and embarrassed. I couldn't explain basic ideas to my family, and I just could stare kind of stupidly back at them whenever they asked me something. So at first I didn't really like speaking French, but then one day I was alone with the host mother, and I tried to force myself to start conversations and talk about my home or where I'm from and things like that. And then we went to the farmer's market, and she's explaining the people that go to the farmer's market. It's oh yeah, these people are called bobos, or bourgeoisie, bohemian, left-wing college student. I was oh, so they're hipsters, right? She's no, they don't really all have beards. They don't live in the mountains, but so there's still some confusion. But I thought well, for me that was really important because that was the first day. I I really branched out using my French and was trying to be confident. And also I learned something really unique about modern French culture. Later on, my program leader, program leaders were Americans that taught French in the United States. She heard a story while she was at a table, and a really disgruntled French man went to their table, and he was complaining about all the bobos everywhere, being hippies. So then, and she thought it meant bourgeoisie, so I was a bobo expert, so I got to tell her. Anyway, so eventually I got getting better and better. I tried to put in whenever we had dinner, I tried to put in something whenever I can, even though I knew my conjugation would be wrong or have to go really slow. And what also really helped was I talked with other exchange students learning French. One was from Malaysia, so that was really interesting to talk to him. And also other people from other parts of the United States. So what I thought was really interesting was even though we all come from really different backgrounds, we're all still curious about the world, which is why we're in Toulouse and we're trying to learn French. So eventually, eventually my French was getting pretty decent. At dinner, we would tease each other in French about how the proper way to eat soup, or cut a pizza, or just roast each other about who was better at pétanque, which is French basketball. So, but I think what the main thing is, this program gave me confidence to try to communicate with people that are really different than me, and just talk to people in general, because, yeah, okay, give it to Grace.
Dominican Republic. My trip was a service trip. It was children's rights and education. And actually there were two aspects to my trip, because obviously there was a service and we were teaching children English, which I'll talk about more in a minute. And then obviously there was the cultural aspect, because you don't live with a host family in a country for 3 weeks and not learn something about the culture. So about the service, that was what I was most looking forward to, obviously. It was why I signed up for the trip. I get to work with kids in the DR and speak Spanish. Whoa, that's really cool. And and working with kids is something that I do anyway, so I figured this is gonna be easy, right? Wrong. working with 4 to 6-year-olds whose Spanish isn't even really that great, in a language in which I'm not fluent, trying to teach them another language in which obviously they're not fluent, it's not the easiest thing in the world. The kids are bundles of energy, so often I would find myself, standing in the middle of a circle of 20 kids trying to talk to them, and suddenly one of the ones sitting behind me is then jumping on me while I'm talking to the group. Okay, all right, I can deal with, no, there's another one. So that was one of the biggest challenges, I think, and one of the things that was really frustrating, but also in the end really rewarding. And also we did community service around the area. We were in a community called La Piedra, and it's a very poor community. You can see here one of the houses there. That's kind of how they all look. They're just sheets of metal. We painted them, we laid down flooring and mixed concrete for the floors. And then the other aspect that I thought was worth mentioning was the culture there, something that's very different from American culture. Here we're always moving, we're always trying to do more, and we're always busy. And there, something that I noticed especially is that after lunch every day, they just take time to chill. They hang out together, they dance. In La Piedra where I was working, we would work with the kids, and then we would have lunch. And for like an hour after that, they would just play music, and the people in the community would try to teach us to dance. I know I had little 6-year-old boys coming up and saying, "Dance with me, dance with me." Definitely one of the cutest things ever, by the way. So there was just something I thought I could learn from. The fact that they take a moment to breathe and just be together, that relationships and family are some of the most important things there. There's something to be learned from the Dominicans. And now, welcome up, Leonie.
Santiago in the Dominican Republic. My trip was also a service trip. It was focused on public health. And we also got to work with around 10 Dominican high school students. And that was really great because we were all learning Spanish, they were learning English, and so we were able to practice with each other, and they also helped out at our various service activities. We spent time at an orphanage for disabled children, and there we got to play with the kids and make friendship bracelets and sing songs, and that was really, really fun. The kids were just so happy that we were there, and it was great. We also went to this place. It was kind of like a boys and girls club. It was in a very poor neighborhood, but the kids were so great. We taught them English, we played games with them, we taught them different sports, and we also led playground activities and games. And that part was definitely more challenging because I love working with kids, but sometimes, it's hard enough when you speak the same language as the kids to try to get them to do stuff. So it was challenging, but the Dominican high school students were so helpful. They taught us new phrases. We had to learn how to say, don't throw rocks, or stop fighting. Things like that. And so things that we hadn't necessarily learned before in Spanish class. And so that was very helpful. And throughout my whole trip, I learned a lot about friendship and leadership, and that you can really bond with people even if you don't speak the same language, and that we can learn a lot from meeting new people from different countries. And studying abroad was amazing. So yeah, and I'd like to welcome Leon.
I'm Liam, and I went to Botswana for a content study. I was learning about wildlife and environmental conservation. I'm really bad at words. Public speaking is not my forte, but I didn't click on that, so I'm doing better than I thought I would. So I went to learn about the conservation efforts that they're making in Botswana. But I found out that I like Botswana for its people and its culture a lot more than what I learned about their environmental agencies, even though they are one of the leaders in Africa on that front. But this is my host family, and they're some of the nicest people I know. They do not normally sit around a table for dinner. That's not normal for them, but they did that because they knew that some Americans do that. So I really appreciate that they took that change in their lives to help me fit in more. And the whole culture is just so friendly and open. We spent a week, the first week of the trip, in the city, learning about the culture so that we could fit in more when we went around the country to the game parks. And we took a traditional dance class, we took a traditional music class, we took language classes, Dumela. But it was incredible to be thrown into this society that I hadn't done a whole lot of research on before, and feel like I fit in because everybody fit in, because the whole culture is just open and inviting. I went to the market with my family once, and I went home with another family because they met some friends and they said, Liam, go with these people, they'll take you home to have dinner. Okay. I couldn't believe just the contrast between here and there. Everything was bright and colorful. And people here wear suits. They didn't wear suits. They just went to work. They looked good, but they were colorful. And I don't know. To me, it was an amazing experience that I'm very grateful that I had, because just everything about it was really nice, and I'm very grateful I could go. Over to John.
Daughtry, and I traveled to Madrid, Spain for the purpose of learning language and culture. My host family consisted of a host father named Manuel and a host mother named Patricia. And one thing we shared was our passion for football, and my passion for soccer, and their passion for football, and football, European football, not American football, was very different. Manuel was a 13-year strong, loyal supporter of Real Madrid. He has gone to every single home game for that team for 13 years straight. So. I'm just a 2-year fan of Manchester United. And if there's one thing that I learned from the experience is that you can't truly understand a culture until you actually put yourself in that environment and actually experience it firsthand. For example, I'm Korean American, and the only reason why I know about Korean culture is because I was raised up in that environment. My parents raised me up that way. And in the same way, by living in Spain, I was better able to grasp an understanding of the language, people, and culture of that country. And I was fortunate enough to go to the Bernabeu Stadium, one of the most famous stadiums in the world, to watch a Legends match. And there I witnessed something very special, because the fans there, I witnessed their passion for this sport. When the team anthem was playing throughout the stadium, these fans were singing along and raising their hands as if they were worshiping a god or something. Their football, as a matter of fact, is sort of like a religion. They live and breathe football. So it's a very different spirit of the way that we treat sports. And here, American football is a great sport, but there, it's a beautiful sport. And by not going on this trip, how was I supposed to know that they sell ham in the form of actual pig legs, including the hoof? You don't just look up on the internet and look up, how do the Spanish sell their ham? The only reason why I know this is because I actually went to the market and witnessed, and I saw these pig legs hanging in the markets. That's the only reason why I know that. So how else was I supposed to know that the transportation is quick and efficient? By not actually going there, I can't actually go onto a train and actually experience that transportation system. And so these are just a few examples of the intangibles that you just can't simply learn from a book, and I think those moments were really special for me. So overall, I'm really thankful for this opportunity. It really opened up doors in preparation for the future, and I've really made great memories that will last a lifetime, once in a lifetime opportunity. So for that, I'm very grateful.
What we'd like to do now is open it up for student questions. And before we do that, I just want to give those students who didn't give formal presentations an opportunity to stand up and just let us know where you went for your summer trip. So maybe we could start with Alden. Can you just tell us where you went for your program?
Hi, I'm Alden, and I went to Sevilla, Spain for a language and culture program.
I am Andre, and I went to Nanjing for a service learning program.
I am Andrew.
And I'm Ryan.
And we
Went to Madrid, Spain for a service learning program.
So you might have a question for a specific student, or you might have a general question, and we'll let a few students answer that question. Who would you like to raise a hand, stand, and Eric, go ahead.
Did you get to witness the butchering?
So I think the question was related to the food and the hamon, or the whole leg that you saw there. I'm just wondering, maybe somebody has a specific story about something that you ate or drank that was unique to the culture, had an interesting sensory experience, olfactory or taste. Anybody want to speak to any food?
The country I went to, they're big on fried, or not fried, but cooked grubs, and that was quite interesting.
And when they served the grub to you, was that the grub on its own? Was it wrapped in leaf, or
Just a dry grub.
just a grub? Any sauce? No. Hadley's got a question.
How long did each students stay in their country, please?
I think most people were there for about 4 weeks. 3-4 weeks. The question was, did you get homesick at all? Maybe how did you stay in touch with home? Did you take a Sabbath and stay in touch with home? Did you connect through Skype or email?
That's what the CIEE program, they recommend you only do once a week because they want you to get the full culture immersion, yeah. So they want you to get the full impact of being in that culture. So they're like, it's okay if you want to talk to people from home, but don't do it constantly.
Willow and Jerry?
What was the biggest culture shock once you came home?
That's a great question. I'm hoping we can hear from a few people on this. Culture shock upon returning back to America.
I think for me, it's just that everyone in the Dominican is so friendly, and also there's something there. Well, not that people here aren't friendly, but there's just a whole level of every time you meet a new person, you hug them. They might kiss you on the cheek. That's just expected there. That's normal. And also that there it's a normal thing for men to call out at women on the street. It's not an insult or disrespectful. It's just their greeting, basically. And catcalling here is considered very not okay. But there it was just a norm, especially for Americans. And so coming back, it's almost like, why is no one?
I would actually say it's the same thing in Spain. But from that
Oh, really?
What did you say?
No, I said it's the same in Spain, but it goes for like guys and girls. So just catcalling.
Anybody else on the return home culture shock experience?
In Spain, you always eat dinner really late. I would finish dinner at about 10 o'clock, and I wouldn't be able to sleep until at least midnight because I didn't have food to digest. So it was really nice to come back and eat at the normal time.
Yeah, I'll take something else.
Good.
Learning a language, like for the first couple of weeks, was really hard, but then after a month, I got really used to it, and coming back home, I would forget words in English. And I started dreaming in Spanish, so that was probably the hardest thing.
All right, Ben has a question.
This one's for Ryan. Could you describe an event that kind of encapsulates the value of your trip?
So the question is, this is something I was hoping somebody would ask, was there a sort of a favorite moment or most memorable event or experience from your trip, maybe people that we didn't hear from in the formal presentation? Anybody like to share?
I think for me, there was no one single event, but a collection of events. I had the unique experience of having just a host father, and so we became very close. We watched MasterChef together every Tuesday. We went to the gym almost every day, just cooked food together. So.
Andre, anything memorable about your trip you'd like to share?
I didn't really have anything prepared for this, but I'd say that when I was teaching in China, I got the experience to teach children. I noticed that
stories to share when we were prepping for today's presentation? Would you like to take time to share a memorable moment?
So when I was in Sevilla, I spent a lot of time.
Maybe stand, I'm not sure if everybody can see you.
Spent a lot of time at the skate park. It was like a 15-minute walk from my apartment. And so it was interesting to meet all the different types of kids there. And one shocking thing about it was like, when you think of a skater kid, you're like, oh no, doesn't want to go to college, just wants to skate, and that's it. But in Sevilla, it was interesting because I met a lot of kids who were really excited to go back to school and were like, oh yeah, I'm doing extra work before school starts. And I don't know, it's just an interesting experience to see these like 6 to 13-year-old kids who were devoted to their school. It was much different from here.
Josh, you said that your experience opened doors maybe for your future. Can you talk about how maybe going abroad has changed the way you think about your future, what you might study, what you might do for a living?
So the question is, how has this experience maybe informed your educational goals or aspirations for the future?
Well, mine really confirmed the fact that I would like to maybe major in Spanish. And then also, now I'm thinking about, wouldn't it be cool if for a while after college I taught abroad in maybe poorer countries where they speak Spanish, and then I could teach them. So that's something I'd never really considered before, and then this experience made me think more about that and look more into it.
Our Spanish instructors are smiling. Very happy for them. Anybody else with regards to how this trip has informed plans for the future?
Just by going on this trip, you've done something that almost no other student has done, and just by experiencing something like this, gives you an edge in life skills and communication skills.
Could you tell us a little more about how you perceive that edge? Do you have some lofty ambitions for where you'd like to go after York, having an edge is important?
I have no intention of studying language as a future career, but I don't know. It's just interacting with people. It's a social skill. It's it will be useful wherever you go.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I think this trip also made me more independent because since we had roommates, we were living with those families, but we had a lot of free time. We were able to, walk around the city with a few friends and things like that. And it made me feel, just a lot more independent. And it made me realize like what I can do, and that, I can, I don't know, in the future I can be on my own, and it'll be a good thing.
We have time for a few more questions.
For those who went to France and the States, at any point you spoke English with families, right? Or was it just mostly Spanish?
So the question is, how often did you use English with those families versus the native tongue?
For me, my family didn't speak any English. Maybe the little boy and the little girl, they knew a little bit from running from school, but it was mostly all Spanish. And also the teachers that were teaching us, they spoke all Spanish. They didn't know any English either. And so that was a lot different. That if you don't know a word, you can't really say it in English and they know it back.
Anybody else?
My host dad worked for the National Police in Spain, and so he was required to know a little bit of English. So if I really need to convey an idea, then I could, but most of the time he didn't know that.
One official language is Catalan is English. So some of the poor people only spoke Catalan, but most people I could convey ideas pretty easily with English, although they didn't understand my direct accent.
Yes.
Some things here, sort of America, sort of you can go in some of the organizations that seems like it's not like it's something over in another country that we do not do.
So Susie's question is, if you were to go into an American household and maybe open the fridge and take food out, it might be considered impolite?
Yeah, okay, and I know in France,
So was there a custom related to the home life experience that you didn't foresee or that you had to abide by?
Well, just socially, people in the Dominican Republic were much more open with like, and they would, if they saw you on the street, they would kind of just shout out like physical characteristics, like blondie, blonde girl, like things like that. Or like they would, I don't know, like they would call people, like if someone was overweight, they would just call them fat, but it wasn't like super insulting, it was more just like an observation. And so that was interesting because there were things like, it would seem totally rude or that you wouldn't say to someone that people were fine saying. They would just, yeah, kind of. No one really held back from what they were saying.
Anybody else want to surprise with custom or practice?
It's sort of a different thing, but the Dominican Republic is also a really religious country. I think you're like 95% Catholic or something like that. And there were a couple of cases where their religion and science would sort of conflict, and some things that we wouldn't think of very seriously here are very real things there. I know one time there was an ambulance that went to one of my neighbor's house, and I was like, what's going on? What's going on? And my friend says, well, apparently the girl has spirits in her, evil spirits, and so the ambulance is taking her to the hospital so they can get rid of them. And that's something that if someone called the ambulance here for that, I feel like they wouldn't get a very good response. And so that was one of those situations where you kind of just have to bite your tongue because it's part of their culture and it's not necessarily part of our culture. And so it was something that was shocking and interesting, but also like here in my head I'm going, how can you seriously think that, you know? It was just another thing where I learned about them and had to kind of keep my own opinions to myself.
Liam. One of the mornings, my host brother was making himself cereal, and he pulls out 2 bowls and he's pouring in the cereal and he says, "Do you want your milk warmed up?" No. And he just sticks his in the microwave and has a happy meal with warm milk. And I was like, whoa. This is different.
We have time for one more question. Yes. So Nora's question is, was there something you were craving in getting back in touch with your home family about, or reaching out to local people? So dealing with loneliness, or making friends abroad.
Well, I think the first day or two were definitely the hardest, but once I adjusted to everything, I mean, most people on my trip had roommates. I had 2 roommates, and so we tried to speak Spanish with each other, but we could speak English, and so we did sometimes. And also, our host family was really nice, and we tried not to just go in our room, you know, because like CIEE told us, like if you just sit in your room with the door closed, like your family's, they're gonna leave you alone, but like you won't really learn anything, and you won't make a connection. And so, yeah, so we tried to we sat out in the living room, and we talked to them, and it was really nice. And by the end of the first few days, I was fine. I didn't really miss my family.
I didn't really have a choice. My host family had 2 sisters who were 10 and 13. And so the first night, the way that I got greeted was the 10-year-old brought me to my room. She opened the door. She put my suitcase on the bed and started unpacking it for me before I could say anything. And as a general rule, the sisters would just kind of invite themselves into our room. A lot of times they just slept in there with us, slept in our beds with us. And our mom would speak to us. So we really didn't have a choice but to be friendly because everyone was friendly to us from the get-go. So it wasn't like I had to reach out. They were just there.
How about a big round of applause for our travel?
What I hope you heard on the most obvious level is the difference between being a traveler and a visitor. As many of us have had the opportunity to be in another country and to travel, and being immersed, that word you keep hearing. So much that you start to dream in the language. So much that you start to feel comfortable with the families and with the cultures. And maybe it's eating a few grubs along the way, or maybe it's not. But it is the feature of these CIEE programs to give you enough time to really get to know a culture and to have that cross-cultural fluency and that understanding better of where you come from and what you might want to do. It's a great opportunity to build some leadership skills and to develop some independence. So you're going to be hearing more about the CIEE programs. We're hoping to expand them, make them available to more and more of you, and we'll be talking about that in the next few weeks. But again, thanks for your attention. And don't let this stop now in terms of questions. You see these folks, you know who they are. Ask them questions. That's one of the best ways for you to learn about what they have learned. Thank you very much.